the heart of the South China Sea, tensions are reaching a boiling point. Recently, a Chinese vessel blocked access to Scarborough Shoal, sparking a dangerous escalation in the region's geopolitical landscape. Stay tuned as we explore the unfolding crisis and its potential ramifications. The presence of Chinese vessels in the region has raised concerns among neighboring countries, particularly the Philippines and the United States. Both nations have long-standing security agreements and a vested interest in maintaining stability in the South China Sea. In response to the provocative actions of the Chinese vessel, the United States and the Philippines have taken decisive steps to assert their presence in the area. Warships have been deployed, signaling a firm stance against any attempts to challenge freedom of navigation in international waters. The English-language Philippines Daily Manila Times published on February 12, 2024, an article titled, "Chinese Vessels Blocked PE Ship." The article describes how the Philippine Coast Guard had accused the Chinese of executing, on February 11, dangerous maneuvers around Philippine ships, coming within meters of them and following them, near the Scarborough Shoal, a disputed territory in the South China Sea that both countries claim and that China seized in 2012. The day before the reported incident, the Chinese Foreign Ministry warned, relevant parties in the Philippines need to understand clearly, tread carefully, and don't play with fire on this question to avoid being manipulated and eventually hurt. The Philippines Defense Ministry responded, "China has no business warning the Philippines about what it does within its territory." The Philippine Coast Guard on Sunday accused Chinese vessels of dangerous maneuvers during a 9-day patrol near a reef off the coast of the country. The Philippine vessel BRP Teresa Magbando was deployed in early February to patrol the waters around Scarborough Shoal, a rich fishing ground in the South China Sea, deliver provisions to Filipino fishermen, and ensure their safety. The reef has been a flashpoint between the countries since China seized it from the Philippines in 2012. Since then, Beijing has deployed patrol boats that Manila says harass Philippine vessels and prevent Filipino fishermen from reaching the lagoon where fish are more plentiful. During the patrol, China Coast Guard vessels performed dangerous and blocking maneuvers at sea against BRP Teresa Magbando 4 times, with the CCG vessels crossing the bow of the PCG vessel twice, the Philippine Coast Guard said in a statement. The Philippine Coast Guard said its ship was also shadowed by, tracked, followed by 4 China Coast Guard vessels on more than 40 occasions. The Coast Guard also observed what it described as 4 Chinese maritime militia vessels. Videos released by the Philippine Coast Guard show a China Coast Guard vessel meters from the port beam of the BRP Teresa Magbando before it crosses the path of the Filipino boat. Nevertheless, the PCG vessel professionally engaged both the CCG and CMM vessels through radio, reiterating the clear and principled position of the Philippines in accordance with international law, the statement said. The Chinese embassy in Manila did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The Scarborough Shoal, a disputed territory in the South China Sea, has long been a flashpoint for territorial disputes between China and the Philippines. However, tensions have soared to new heights as a Chinese ship obstructed a Philippine vessel, leading to a standoff in the waters. The strategic significance of Scarborough Shoal cannot be overstated. Its control provides access to vital fishing grounds and potentially lucrative oil and gas reserves, making it a prized possession for claimant states. Scarborough Shoal, locally known as Bajo de Masinloc, is 240 kilometers, 150 miles, west of the Philippines' main island of Luzon, and nearly 900 kilometers from the nearest major Chinese landmass of Hainan. The Philippine Coast Guard handed out food and groceries to 100 Filipino fishermen in 14 boats, the statement said. Chinese Foreign Ministry. Relevant parties in the Philippines need to understand clearly, tread carefully, and don't play with fire on this question to avoid being manipulated and eventually hurt. The incidents came 2 months after tense standoffs between China and the Philippines around disputed reefs in the South China Sea that saw a collision between vessels from the two countries and Chinese ships blasting water cannons at Philippine boats. China claims almost the entire sea and has ignored an international tribunal ruling that its assertions have no legal basis. It deploys boats to patrol the busy waterway and has built artificial islands that it has militarized to reinforce its claims. Chinese and Philippine officials last month agreed on the need for closer dialogue to deal with maritime emergencies in the waterway as tensions escalated. In a related development, the Department of National Defense on Saturday chided China for meddling in Philippine internal affairs after it criticized the country's plans to increase its military presence in Batanes Island fronting Taiwan. Relevant parties in the Philippines need to understand clearly, tread carefully, and don't play with fire on this question to avoid being manipulated and eventually hurt, said Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin. In response, defense spokesman Arsenio Andalong said, China has no business warning the Philippines about what it does within its territory. It is the mandate of the Department of National Defense to secure the sovereignty of the state and integrity of the national territory, as enshrined in the Philippine Constitution, Andalong added. On Tuesday, Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. visited the naval detachment in Navilas at the northern tip of Batanes Island and instructed top military officials to increase troops' presence in the area. Andalong said the government is currently formulating a comprehensive archipelagic defense concept to address territorial defense vulnerabilities. He urged China to refrain from engaging in provocative rhetoric if it wants to earn the respect of other countries. China's pronouncements and acts are the main reasons for its low credibility with the Filipino people, Andalong said. As tensions continue to simmer, the international community watches with bated breath. The risk of miscalculation or escalation remains high, raising concerns about the potential for conflict in one of the world's most strategically important regions. The situation at Scarborough Shoal serves as a stark reminder of the complex geopolitical dynamics at play in the South China Sea. With competing territorial claims and military posturing on the rise, the need for diplomatic dialogue and de-escalation measures has never been greater. Join us next time as we continue to monitor developments in this evolving crisis.